It took me 20 years in the gym to learn what I'll teach you in the next few minutes. I spend most of that time spinning my wheels and going around in circles. But in the last 5 years, I finally cracked it and built a body I'm proud of. So today I want to save you all the time and energy I wasted and break down exactly what works. No fluff, no fancy editing, and no bull. So full screen the video and let's lock in. Number one, just start. Because you can do everything else that I'm going to talk about in this video, but if you don't do this one, you're not going to get very far. You can watch 10, 20, or even 100 YouTube videos, but if you don't get off your ass and get in the gym, nothing's going to change. Listen, gym anxiety, or gymxiety as I like to call it, is a real thing. But to prove that you don't need to worry about it, let me tell you a quick story. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is a little bit embarrassing, so please don't laugh. But a few weeks ago, I was in the gym using a seated cable row machine when all of a sudden, the cable snapped. I flew backwards, backflipped off the bench, and landed upside down with my ass in the air. And when I was lying on the cold, hard gym floor, I genuinely considered changing my name, getting facial reconstructive surgery, and emigrating to Venezuela. But do you know what was absolutely crazy? Despite the fact that there were maybe 50 people in the gym, only 3 of them even bothered to look over. And within 5 seconds, they were all doing their own thing again. The point is, no one cared. So the lesson here, and the reason you have no reason to be anxious about going to the gym, is that everybody is so wrapped up in their own life that they do not care about yours. Whether they're scrolling on their phone, checking out the hot girls, or just making sure that they don't make a tit of themselves just like I did. The truth is, everybody is so self-conscious these days, they're not even aware of their surroundings. And where it gets even crazier is that most of the guys you see in the gym aren't following a program. They're just winging it. They don't have a clue what they are doing. And the thing with gymxiety is that it never really goes away. I travel a lot these days and I'm always in a new gym. And guess what? Every time I walk into a new gym, there's always a little bit of anxiety there. And that's after 20 years of experience. People are afraid to say the words man up these days. But honestly, I think that's the best piece of advice I can give you here. And listen, I'm not trying to convince you that you have to become some kind of gym bro, but it's very hard to think of any other thing that can be so transformative for your life. Because as your body changes, so does your mind. Because the gym doesn't just build resilience, it destroys any self-imposed limiting beliefs. It gives you authentic confidence in your capability as a man. And if the price I have to pay to get that is lifting heavy circles 4 times a week, then sign me up. Number 2 is all about structure, intensity, and intentionality. If you want to build a body that looks strong and athletic, you're going to need some structure, because winging it is a great way to guarantee that you stay exactly where you are. And the truth is, that's exactly what most guys are doing in the gym. They walk in, do a few random exercises, maybe some crunches or some curls, and then they leave. And after 6 months, they wonder why their body hasn't changed. But you want a plan that's built on a few key principles that are easy to remember. First, you want to focus on the compound moves, which I'll put on the screen right now. Things like squats, deadlifts, presses, rows, and pull-ups. These are the movements that hit multiple muscle groups at the same time and give you the biggest bang for your buck. They also burn the most calories, meaning you can maximize the muscle gain and the fat burn at the same time. Now, don't get me wrong, accessory work has its place, but if you're spending more time on ab circuits and bicep curls than you are these compound movements, then your priorities are backwards. And actually, while I remember, let me quickly clear something up. Ab workouts don't give you abs. Fat loss does. So if you want your abs to show, clean up your diet and drop the body fat. My 2 favorite ab exercises are either the ab wheel or some hanging leg raises. But I don't want you to be wasting 30 minutes every day doing hundreds or even thousands of crunches and planks thinking that's going to be the secret to you getting abs. And when you first start doing those big lifts, the compound movements, you want to be prioritizing lighter weight to perfect the form first. Why? Well, 2 reasons really. Reason number 1 is that good form is what is going to help you build the most muscle. And reason number 2 is that if you master the form, you are minimizing the possibility that you're going to get injured. Because at the end of the day, you are not lifting to impress the guy who's on the bench next to you or the hot girl who's not even paying attention to you. You are lifting to get better. Every man and his dog does 3 sets of 10, but that's why he looks exactly the same year after year. So when you're first getting into this stuff, I strongly recommend that you double down and do 4 sets of 20 using lighter weight and perfecting your form. You should be controlling the weight, not the other way around. You want to master the movement first. Then over time, you can build the weight up and lower the reps down. Then once you've got your exercises locked in, the next step is to start tracking your lifts. Because a little bit like with your calories and with your macros, if you're not tracking, you're just guessing. And if you're guessing, if you're not tracking, it's kind of dumb because you're already doing 95% of the hard work. But without that final 5%, the chances of you getting nowhere and staying the same are pretty high. The beauty of tracking is that it takes the guesswork out of the equation. It means you can review your progress with actual data rather than your emotions. I build personalized plans for all of my clients on an app called Heavy, but you can actually download the app for free and check out some of the generic plans that they have. They're cookie cutter, don't get me wrong, but honestly, it's better than nothing because the app shows you exactly what you lifted last time. It has a built-in rest timer. It even has video demonstrations of how to do every single one of the exercises. Just to be clear, I'm not sponsored by the app. I don't gain anything by telling you about it. I'm just telling you because over the years, I've tried 5, maybe even 10 of these workout apps. And by a mile, so far, the Heavy one is the best. And when I say the best, I don't just mean the best in terms of how you can use the app. I mean in terms of the results that it's been getting me and, more importantly, my clients. And speaking of results, we need to talk about the most important part of training, and that's progressive overload. This is the principle that your results are going to hinge on. And to explain how it works, let me tell you a story of a guy called Milo and his bull. Now, full disclosure, I have absolutely no idea whether this is a true story or not, but it's pretty cool. Basically, this dude called Milo had a baby bull, a calf. Anyway, for some reason, I don't know if he was mentally ill or whatever, he decided that he was going to carry this calf up a hill every single day. And as the calf grew, so did Milo's strength. Before he knew it, by the time the calf had become a fully grown bull, Milo had the strength to carry it on his shoulders. In other words, Milo's body had adapted to the progressive overload over time. The weight had slowly increased, and so his body had no choice but to adapt. And that is exactly how you get stronger. You see, when you lift weights, your muscles get used to the effort. And the biggest mistake that I see so many guys make in the gym is they're going in, they're turning up regularly, but they're doing the same thing over and over again on repeat, almost like on autopilot. But if you want to keep building strength and size, you need to either increase the amount of weight that you're lifting, add more reps to the sets that you are doing, or as a last resort, because it's going to take you more time, you can actually add an extra set. It doesn't really matter how you do it. The point is, it's all about small but measurable improvements over time. And if you don't push yourself out of the comfort zone, nothing's going to change. But the good news is, you don't need to carry a ball because these days we have gyms. Number 3 is to make a plan and stick to it. This is one of the biggest reasons guys stay stuck. They start a program on Monday, but by next week they're doing something completely different because they got bored or didn't see the results that they think they deserved. The reality is, most guys don't need a new plan. They need a goal, and they need to commit to that goal for at least 3 months, but ideally 6, because patience and focus are key here. At the end of the day, you have to give your program a chance to work. Changing your workout every single week is like planting a seed and then digging it up 3 days later to see if it's growing. And progress doesn't come from constantly chopping and changing programs or even exercises. It comes from locking in and learning exercise mastery, because exercises aren't just exercises, they're skills. And like any skills, it takes repetitions and time to get good at it. You want to get so good that you have a real mind-muscle connection. So don't ask yourself, what should I do next? Ask yourself, how can I get better at what I'm already doing? Because the truth is, every time you jump ship to a new program, you're just hitting the reset button. You lose momentum, you lose your consistency, and ultimately, you lose results. And this is where so many guys go wrong, especially if they're perfectionists. They watch another YouTube video that tells them they have to do this specific exercise. So they tear up the plan that they started just last week and start doing this one instead. And then a week later, the same thing happens again. And this cycle repeats over and over again. They're looking for the holy grail of workouts and exercises, but I got news for you. It ain't out there. Just like your diet, the best program for you is the one that you can stick to, because consistency beats perfection every single time. And at the end of the day, if you hate every single second of your workout. It's only a matter of time before you're going to give up. And what's crazy is that even a basic average program will outperform a perfect plan that you can't stick to for more than 10 days. So stop chopping and changing, pick a goal, find a routine that you enjoy, and back yourself to stick to it. Because when you enjoy what you're doing, you'll naturally stay consistent. This idea that you need to be super motivated or even disciplined is a complete fallacy if you actually enjoy what you're doing. So those are the 3 basic things that you need to be doing in the gym. Now that we've covered those, let's talk about the 3 key things that you need to be prioritizing outside of the gym. Number 4 is to know your calories and macros and stick to them. If you want to cut fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. The diet you pick is completely up to you. The truth is they can all work as long as you're in a deficit. Now you can calculate your deficit using the fancy formula on the screen, or you can tap the top link in the description and use the free calculator I've built that does all the hard work for you. And by the way, I've actually just redesigned the calculator. So now you won't just get your calories, but I'll give you all your macros as well. Your protein, your carbs, and your fat. And these aren't just generic macros, by the way. They are personalized to you based on the information that you put into the calculator. Anyway, my calculator is going to give you a 500 calorie deficit. And that's a moderate deficit that enables you to torch the fat whilst maintaining that lean muscle as long as you're regularly resistance training and eating a high protein diet. On the other hand, if you want to build some size, then you need to be in a small calorie surplus, small being the operative word. You don't want it to be anything above 10% above your maintenance calorie number, because the truth is most guys bulk way too aggressively, and then they wonder why they just look fatter in bigger clothes. And if you're not sure whether you should be cutting or bulking, then the chances are you need to be cutting, because your body is going to be far healthier and operate much better when you're lean. Think of it like a machine and you're just throwing out all the parts that you don't need. But whichever path you choose to go down, make sure you're tracking your food for a few weeks, especially if you've never done it before. Because trust me, you will be shocked at how much you are overeating or how far you are off of your macro mix. And no, you don't need to weigh your spinach. Just be mindful of how much fat and carbs that you're putting onto your plate. Because honestly, that tends to be where the calories add up fast. And the best advice I can give you here, to be honest, whether you are cutting or bulking, is to avoid liquid calories. Make sure that you're cooking with 1 calorie spray. Watch out for those condiments because they often have 100 calories per squirt, if you like. And beware of things like the fancy coffees, the frappuccinos, even the smoothies, anything like that. Because it tends to be for most guys, especially when they are mindfully and consciously trying to eat healthier, it's not their main meals that are holding them back. It's the bits around the sides. But again, this is where tracking comes into the equation. And this is why it's such a valuable part of the process. So just like you're going to track your lifts in the gym so you can take the emotion out of the equation, make sure you're tracking your food. Again, it's not a life sentence. You don't have to do it from now until the day you die. 6 to 8 weeks is more than enough to build the habit. And then number 5 is to prioritize your sleep, because sleep is the single most underrated performance enhancer on the planet. And trust me, I say this as someone who spent years getting it wrong. But a new study has compared 2 groups on identical calorie deficits. The only difference between the groups is that one slept 8.5 hours while the other was limited to 5.5. Now, as you can see on the screen, both lost pretty much the same amount of weight, 6.6 versus 6.4 pounds. But the group who slept more lost 55% more fat and 60% less muscle, meaning that just 3 extra hours of sleep changed everything. This means the sleep-deprived group's weight loss was mostly muscle, not fat, proving that you literally burn muscle instead of fat when you're underslept. The thing is, we all know, right, that sleep is super important. Me telling you to just sleep more isn't particularly helpful because I'm sure a lot of you would love to. No, you see, what I think really makes the difference is your sleep quality, because 7 hours of high quality sleep is more than enough. So here's 5 ways that you can improve that. Number 1 is to set a sleep alarm. Most people wake up to alarms but pay no attention to sleep alarms. So what you want to do is just set your phone to remind you when it's 30 minutes before bed. This gives you an opportunity to start winding down for the night. Number 2 is you want to cool your bedroom down to 18 degrees Celsius. And this is because your body temperature needs to fall for your body to fall asleep. And a cool room is just going to increase the speed that this natural process happens. Number 3, is to stop eating 3 hours before you go to bed. And this is because late meals raise your heart rate because digestion is a metabolic process. And when your heart rate is elevated, it's very difficult for your body to fall into a deep sleep. And then number 4, probably the hardest one to do, I think, for most people, is no screens 1 hour before bed, because the blue light that all of these screens emit blocks the production of a hormone called melatonin. Now, this hormone is very important to help downregulate your brain and body and get you ready for sleep. And then number 5, a very obvious one, but one actually a lot of people kind of just skip over completely, and that's that you want to make your room pitch black, because even those tiny little lights from the electronics can have a pretty disruptive effect on your sleep. So you can either unplug them or do what I do and remove them from your bedroom, or if you live in a big city or it's, just lighter, or it's the middle of summer or whatever it might be, then wear an eye mask. And if you're a little bit overwhelmed, you're like, which one's the most important? Think about the one that's going to give you the most leverage and just start with one. Because ultimately, you can't out-train bad sleep. And honestly, those 3 extra hours in bed are probably going to be worth more to you than an extra gym session. Your muscles and your mental health are going to thank you. Number 6, walk every day. This is the most underrated fat loss tool that you've got. Most guys overtrain in the gym and undermove outside of it. But if you do 10,000 steps a day for a year, it's the equivalent of you running 70 marathons a year. That means without changing anything else, you could lose over 40 pounds of fat a year just by walking 90 minutes a day. And walking doesn't just burn calories. It lowers your stress by activating something called your parasympathetic nervous system. And that's obviously great news for your sleep, which we just spoke about. Back when I worked in an office, I started doing 20-minute walks after lunch. I honestly didn't think too much about it at the time. I wasn't intentionally doing it. I just wanted to get away from my desk because I was bored. But then I realized that I felt calmer. My digestion was better. And as a result of that, my fat loss really started to speed up. But what was crazy is that I wasn't changing anything else. And that was all I needed to become the latest advocate of getting your steps in. And now I try to get 10,000 in as a non-negotiable daily habit. You can do it with a dog, podcast, audiobook, phone a friend, whatever. There's so many ways to do it. And listen, I appreciate you've heard this before. You probably heard me say it before, but I'm going to keep banging this drum because at the end of the day, the average number of steps that a man in the UK and the US is walking is still only 4,000, which is less than half of what we really need to be doing. And what's crazy about that is that if that's the average, it means 50% of men are doing even less than that. So come on, guys, we can do a lot better here. Anyway, once you've nailed the basics of your training and your lifestyle, which we've just covered, you want to make sure that your training is actually working for you, not against you. So let's finish up the video by talking about some more advanced stuff. Number 7, don't overtrain. Good news. If you're new to lifting, 3 full body sessions a week is more than enough. Seriously, you will be amazed at how much progress you can make if you train with intensity, turn up consistently, and follow a structured workout program. Don't let social media convince you that you need to train 7 days a week or sleep in the squat rack. Just start with those 3 full body sessions. And that means that even if you miss one, you're still going to be training all of your major muscle groups at least twice a week. And then once you've built some momentum and you're starting to feel more confident in yourself and in the gym, you can move up to 4 sessions a week. If I was doing this, I would structure it as an upper body day, a lower body day, a rest day, and then repeat that cycle with 2 rest days over the weekend. And no man, especially if you're over 35, needs to train 5 days a week. This last year, I've dropped down from 5 sessions to 4. And honestly, it's been one of the best decisions I've made. I'm making more progress in the gym doing less, and I feel better outside of the gym because I'm not, and you're not, a 22-year-old influencer on a cocktail of Mexican supplements. Like most of the guys I work with, I expect you've got a busy job, a stressful life, kids running around, a demanding missus. And what no one talks about is that the more you train, the law of diminishing returns starts to kick in. More training equals more fatigue, more stress, more joint pain, but without any more results. In other words, you get less bang for your buck and end up digging yourself into a deeper hole that is harder to get out of. So train hard, train smart, but then focus on your recovery because the progress comes from stimulus, which is the training, plus the recovery. Number 7, you want to find the exercises that work best for you, because not every exercise works for every body. We've all got different levers and limb lengths and joint angles and an injury history. So don't force yourself to squat ass to grass if you know your knees are going to buckle. Don't barbell bench if you feel it more in your shoulders than you do your chest. You don't get extra points for doing the hardest, coolest looking version of the lift. You get points and you get progress and results by doing the smartest version that works for you. I'm 6'4" on a good day with very long legs. So barbell squats, as an example, have never felt particularly comfortable for me. So I will swap it out for a belt squat or a hack squat or a goblet squat if I'm, limited on equipment, which means I can lift heavier with better form and ultimately get better results. So make the movement fit your body. That's really the lesson here. If you've made it this far in the video, first and foremost, thank you very much for listening to me raffle on. But secondly, it tells me that you're clearly serious about changing your body. Here's the good news. You don't need to figure all this out on your own, because I appreciate I've just thrown a lot at you. That was all of the major lessons that I have learned from 20 years in the gym, but obviously there's a lot more to it. So if you want me to build you a personalized workout program and nutrition targets that fits your life, then all you have to do is click the second link under this video to check out exactly how my coaching program works. There's a short video where I talk you through all the details, and if you're interested, you can apply and you and I will have a one-on-one conversation, because this right here could be the moment that everything changes for you. So you can watch this video right here if you want to go deeper down the rabbit hole. But if you're serious about making a change, then I suggest you click that link.